My players have short memories and don't think before major actions. There's a couple of questions along the way in this post, so bear with me. How do you guys suggest handling a group that really doesn't remember much of anything past the main story arc? I do take some of the responsibility as I am a newer DM and still working on my creative writing and world building, but my players seem to need to be railroaded into every situation because they don't recall any details. For example, there's been some pretty key NPCs they've worked with or for, but by the next session they don't seem to remember any of that NPC's motivations, quests, or dialogues. I then have to sidebar and say things like, now, remember, this guy hates the king and wants you to kill him. Are you sure you want him with you while trying to gain favor with the king? And to me, that totally ruins any immersion. The other thing is they don't seem to be at all in character. I'm not talking about voice acting and such, but more just putting themselves in their character's shoes and using some critical thinking. A recent example of this: approaching the king while fully armed in full plate armor and not considering at all how that may come across. Then getting frustrated when I have them arrested by the king's royal guard. And instead of accepting their fate, the party starts attacking the guard like it's normal combat. All the while they know this is the king they earlier agreed they want favor with. I understand there's consequences to their actions, but I have a really hard time letting them destroy their chances of any success. And also, as a new DM, it's challenging for me to then steer the story back around when they dismantle the one obvious thing that would advance the story. These sound like the actions of players who don't really know what's going on. To me, it seems obvious that there is a disconnect between what is happening in your imagination and what your players understand to be happening around their characters. This could be because they aren't taking notes or aren't paying attention, but the burden of elucidating what is happening in the fiction falls on the DM's shoulders. If there is something that a character would obviously know, like that approaching a king in full plate while armed is a bad idea, you should tell your player this. It's not going to break immersion, and you shouldn't feel bad about it. Also, I see this actions have consequences mindset towards DMing a lot online, and honestly, it's beginning to seem like a pretty big red flag. Like, yes, actions do have consequences, but if you are treating this as your principal axiom while running, all you're going to do is create an adversarial table. If you ever find yourself in a situation where every player is frustrated because of some avoidable disaster due to misunderstanding, that's on you. And if your response to this situation is, well, they should have thought about that, it's not good enough. What is obvious to you, the creator of the universe, is not always going to be obvious to your players. Your job is not only to run the game, it is also your responsibility to communicate the game.